Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the first of your required 1L sessions here. We want to give you quite a bit of information, just kind of an introduction of some of the different things that we have to offer, some of the different things you can think about as far as for your next summer, some of the possibilities, and then some of the resources that are available to you. Just a quick introduction. My name is Michael Keller. I'm the Assistant Dean in the Office of Career and Professional Development. I've been here now this is my 5th year here. Before this, I was in Career Services in another law school. Before that, in Career Services in another office outside of law school. So I've been doing this for about 20 years or so. But I'll let the rest of the team all introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Henneke. I'm a director in the office. I'm going into my 4th academic year here. I'm a 2009 graduate of the University of Iowa College of Law. When I was practicing law, I was a judicial law clerk and an assistant state public defender. I look forward to working with you all this year.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Hewitt. I'm an associate director in the office. I graduated from this fine institution in 2012. And then following graduating law school here, I was an assistant district attorney in Rat County for just under 4 years, and then took a really crazy wild jump into a brand new life. I worked at a high school for just under 3 years. That experience, I'm really excited to be here. I've been in the office since July. Most of you have some familiar faces, but if I haven't met you, it's great to meet you.
Hello, I'm Megan Zerwigan, and I am a 2012 graduate from University of St. Thomas in Minneapolis. I joined the Career Services office in August, so I am also in my first year with all of you this time around. When I graduated from law school, I was a medical malpractice litigation attorney in the Twin Cities until my husband's job brought me here to Madison, where I worked at the State Bar of Wisconsin for a while, and then joined the OCPD office.
My name is Melinda Constant. I'm the project manager in OCPD. I do not have a law degree, but in 2016 I graduated from Marquette University with a master's in student affairs and higher education.
All right. So this is really the work that we're doing with you throughout your entire 3 years is really a partnership with you. We really want to work with you. This is not a placement office. It's an old term that's the bygone days. It doesn't really happen anymore. We really want to be able to work with you. There are 500 plus students who we're working with, and so we want to make sure that we can help you find the career and not just the job that you're looking for. If you don't know what career or what job you want, that's what we're here for as well. Be able to do intake, be able to do an assessment with you to make sure that you understand what are the possibilities out there, and look at your own values, interests, personalities, skill sets, to find out what's a good set or a good match for you. You may have already been to some of the Pizza with Professionals, where we may have been already talking about that with some of the panelists who have been here. And the most successful students do come in and see us more than just for once a year that they're required to as part of their statement of professional obligation. So take advantage of everything that we have to offer. We want to be able to be here to help you, but you have to play a part in this. How can we help? One-on-one counseling. We do a lot of one-on-one counseling. You're required to do at least one intake this year, and then at least one session each of your following years. But that's just the starting point there. We do the assessment that all of you receive via email, that you go out and you fill out the Qualtrics survey so that we have the background information before we have that very first meeting with you. We do obviously the regular resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, interviewing skills, job search strategies that are more pointed or more focused on just what you want to do. And so take advantage of that. We have some very skilled people. You're assigned to a counselor in the office. If after the first time you come in, you talk with that person, you find out that you want to do public interest work. And so you want to come in and you want to talk to Megan, who specializes, Megan H., the first Megan, because they, you'll be now the first Megan from now on. Because she specializes in the public interest area. If you want to do that, that's fine. We assign those out to each of the counselors, just so that we make sure we have a good breakdown. Some of the different programming, I talked about the Pizza with Professionals. How many have had a chance to come to one of the Pizza with Professionals yet? Okay, if you haven't had a chance, there are panels that we have where we pick a different setting or a practice area, and we talk to sometimes alums, sometimes not, people who are out in that area practicing. We still have labor and employment and healthcare law going on yet this semester. We've already had 3 of them. And they're really helpful when you're in the exploration stage. And also it's a great place to be able to meet some of the people who are here for the panels. One of required programs, this is number 1. You'll be doing a second one in your legal research and writing, and then towards the end of the year we'll talk about all the recruiting that goes on during the summertime. Lindsay runs a very good judicial clerkship series. We've already had a few. We'll continue to have those throughout the year, so look for those. Networking and social media programming. We have a networking workshop that comes right before our speed networking in the spring. The interview boot camp right before fall programming begins, or before fall interviewing begins. So there's a lot of information out there, a lot of stuff out there, and in a moment we'll talk about Simplicity, which is where you can find all that. That's where you sign up for this today. Networking opportunities. We have Alumni Network Connect, which is a program that is in Simplicity, where we have over 500 alums who have specifically said they want to provide advice and guidance to current students. The only complaint I ever received from alums is that students aren't contacting them enough, that they want to be contacted more often, they want to be more engaged. So take advantage of that. I mentioned the speed networking. We also have speed resume review, speed interviewing. Our trips, we do a trip to DC and to Chicago during the winter break trips, or during the winter breaks. If you're interested in those locations, we will do one to the Twin Cities in spring, possibility depending upon interest of doing a New York one in the spring. We do mid-market road shows in Wausau, Stevens Point, or Appleton, Fox River Valley. And then we also have the Madison Mingle and Milwaukee, which happens right after exams in the spring, where we go to 7 to 9 different firms in each one of the cities, the ones who come on campus quite a bit. And so you have an opportunity not just to read about their websites, but actually walk in their doors and figure out what they're like inside that location. We do have the reunion events coming up this Friday, where we will have alumni at different tables in the atrium from 1:45 to 3, and you can just visit different tables and get to know some of the people there. Again, these are people who really want to be able to help. And then numerous panels and workshops for networking as well. And then job postings, interview programs, fairs. We'll talk about those in much more detail later on, but we do have all the job postings in Simplicity. We do have a spring OCI, the Wisconsin Public Interview Program, and like I said, a lot more that are coming up. I know there's a lot of this information coming to you all at once. We'll have this PowerPoint up on our website, but if you read the newsletter every week, you're not going to miss out on those things, because we will always make sure that we highlight those things in our newsletter. We also we're on the web. If you want to join us, or if you want to friend us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter. We have a Pinterest page, which is all about dress attire for interviews, for work. Want to know what business casual really means? No better way than to look and see how it is, rather than us trying to describe it to you. Check out our website here. We actually have a section that is specifically set up for the Wendels, with a timeline, with all of the different information that's going to be most important to you. Again, read those newsletters. Now I'll turn it over to Megan.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so hopefully you look at this slide of Wendell requirements and say, hey, I've already done some of that stuff. That's great. Does the statement of professional obligation sound familiar to everyone? Let's see some head shake. Okay, wonderful. Okay, the second thing I want to talk to you about is the transcript release form. Those of you who have computers, go ahead and go there right now and check this. Transcript release sounds kind of like, wait, what are you going to do with my transcript? This allows us to release it to you. That's it. So once you sign this form, we will put together a very nice looking unofficial transcript for you, and it will be in the document section of Simplicity. It will not appear until after you have your first set of grades, so somewhere in January, February range. What else do you have to do this year? Attend the 1L workshops. Yay, you're already a third of the way there. The second one will be very easy for you as well, because we will come to your legal writing classes and talk to you about resumes and cover letters. I would encourage you to wait until you have that session before you really start working on your resumes and cover letters, because it's just a completely different animal than what you might have done for admissions or what you might have done to get other jobs before you came to law school. And then in the spring semester, we will do a workshop on recruiting that will happen over the summer while you're gone. It's really important that you come to that one because, like I said, you'll be gone for the summer when a lot of important deadlines happen. Then a counseling appointment is mandatory as well. A lot of you have already signed up for that. We already have over 130 meetings scheduled, so your class is on it. Congratulations, well done. The last requirement is to take initiative and personal responsibility in your job search. As Dean Keller said at the beginning of this presentation, we are a partner, we can help you, but we can't apply to jobs for you. We can't write cover letters for you, but we are here to help in all those ventures. All right, I'm not going to read everything on this slide, and it is summarized in the blue sheet that you got, but this is just some of the highlights of the timeline. Is there anything you'd like me to go in more detail about in this timeline, how your 1L year is going to go with respect to career and professional development? If there's something on this that looks interesting, or that you have more questions about, or that you're worried about, please bring it up on an individual basis with you, our counselor, in your intake meeting. But like I said, the blue sheet that you got at the beginning of this really lays out all the things that will happen during your 1L year. So, right now the most important thing that you can do is focus on your studies. I know that there's a lot of information coming at you from all different angles. The point of this is just try to plant a seed at things that might be interesting for you, but the point of this is not to freak out or to think that deadlines are coming imminently. The most important thing you can do right now is focus on being a law student and work on your classes. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our project manager, Melinda, who's going to talk about Simplicity, where a lot of you have already got a start on because you RSVP'd for this workshop today. And if you didn't, that's fine. Just sign the sign-in sheet before you leave. Everyone should sign the sign-in sheet.
All right, so what is Simplicity? Simplicity is our office's online career management tool that you will use to do a lot of different things for your office. So whether that be sign up for events, apply for jobs, connect with employers or alumni, it's all on Simplicity. So now I'm going to go through a quick tutorial. Of how you can navigate Simplicity. How you can access the website is I simply just Google Office of Career and Professional Development. And you'll come to our homepage, and then you'll just want to scroll to this box right here, Simplicity, and log in with your credentials. If you haven't received an email with instructions on how to get your account started, please get in contact with me so I can help you do that. So anyways, here is your homepage to Simplicity. You'll see right away what sticks out is this Jobs for You section. So I'll get into this a little bit later, but it's really important that you fill out your account and your profile so Simplicity can know what your interests are and recommend some opportunities for you. So this is really nice. You'll also see this What's New section where we will post on-campus interview opportunities, resume collection opportunities, as well as some employer reception information. We'll post those here. But again, all of this will also be in your newsletters. And then you'll see this shortcuts little box, and these are just links that we thought would be helpful for you, career-related, also job posting websites as well. And then what you'll be using the most are these tabs on the left-hand side. So we'll start with My Account. So as I mentioned, you're going to want to make sure that you fill this out. This is how Simplicity can connect you or recommend jobs for you. This is also how we will use this information to get in contact with you for opportunities that may be of interest. So please make sure you go through and fill out all this information so we have for you. Then I mentioned also filling out your profile. So again, just try and fill out as many sections as you can. Like I mentioned before, this is just really helpful for our office and for you as well if we see any opportunities of interest for you. We want to make sure that we can get in contact with you about them. Next, we will go into documents. And this is where you can upload any resumes, cover letters, writing samples, any application materials you need to apply for jobs. You can upload as many documents as you need, and as Megan mentioned, if you sign our statement of professional obligation, every semester we will upload your unofficial transcript for you. And lastly, you want to make sure that any document you upload here has been reviewed by your advisor, is finalized, and ready for employers' eyes. Next, we'll go into the Jobs tab. So this is our online job bank. You will only see positions that are recruiting your class year. So all of the positions recruiting your class year can be found in the Jobs tab. Like I mentioned before, if you fill out your account and your profile, Simplicity will find jobs that you are interested in or potentially interested in. And then if you find something you like, you can always favorite it and keep track of those favorites in this tab. And then in this tab, you can keep track of all of your applications of jobs you've applied for. A new tool Simplicity has this semester is you can save your searches. So for example, let's say I'm interested in a summer associate position, and I want to be updated every day on when a new summer associate position gets posted to Simplicity. So I can save this search, and now I can edit this to send me an email daily or every other day to let me know when new jobs have been posted that are of interest to me. And of course, you can have multiple. So this makes your job search process a lot more simple. And let's see, I think that's all for jobs. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Next, we'll go into the Employers tab. This is a really good networking tool. You can search for our directory of employers who've been in contact with our office in any sort of fashion, whether that be through OCIs, on-campus interviews, resume collections, events. All of the contacts that we have are in here. I suggest, so if you're interested in employers who come to campus or interact with our office from Wisconsin, that's just an easy search. Find one of interest, and you can have their contact information to reach out. So this is a really good tool if you need contact information for a thank you note, or you want to set up an informational interview. This is a great tool to utilize. Also, another great networking tool is the Alumni Network Connection. So these are all of our alumni, as Michael mentioned, that want or are willing to be contacted by students. So you can, again, just filter by whether it's by city or a field or an employer. You can find alumni that meet your specific interests. And again, find out a little bit more about them, and then their contact information is available to be contacted. And then OCI, on-campus interviews. This is the tab you will use to apply for on-campus interviews, resume collections, and some of you may be applying for clinics for this summer. Because some of you will be applying for clinics, I wanted to go through a quick example of how you would go about doing this. So you will go through this session, and you'll notice that each recruiting opportunity has their own session. You'll find the fall 2017 Fall Clinics OCI. You'll want to make note of these important dates. So bidding essentially means applying. So you can apply until November 29th for these opportunities. You scroll down and you will see all of the clinics that are recruiting this fall. And let's just say I'm interested in the Restorative Justice Project. You'll see a little basic information on their particular OCI. So their interview link, who will be interviewing you, what class years they'll be interviewing, and that the interviews will be held here at the law school. You'll also scroll down and see anything extra that this employer needs for you to apply. So this particular employer wants you to address something special in your cover letter. So you'll wanna make sure you do that. And then if you're ready to apply, you'll come up to the right-hand side of the page, and you'll notice that they would like a resume and cover letter to be submitted. You will go through the drop-down menu to pick a resume that you want to submit to this employer, and then simply hit apply, and it's that easy. But let's say you also are interested in CPP. There's their information about their OCI. They would like to see your undergraduate transcript. Let's see, and I happen to upload it in my other documents, so I can simply check that. It will get uploaded, sent to them. Pick what resume and cover letter you want, and you'll notice here that they would also like a writing sample, but Simplicity didn't find one in your Documents tab. So, in order to apply, you need to upload your writing sample to your documents, and then once you've done that, you'll see that red button again, and then you'll be able to apply. So I also mentioned that you can apply for resume collections through the OCI tab. The Wisconsin Innocence Project does not hold interviews, so they will essentially do a resume collection. So how you apply for that is very similar to how you apply for OCIs. They want a resume and cover letter, find the right one, and hit apply. Any questions on that? Yeah.
You mentioned undergrad transcripts.
Mhm.
Since we've already sent them here to get in, are we able to get it from the school, or do we have to resend them to you guys from the undergrad institution?
You won't be sending them to us, so you will actually be uploading them into Simplicity yourself. So you'll just hit add new, and then you'll click other documents, and then you just browse for it.
So we have to get it from our undergrad to ourselves and then upload it?
Yes.
It has to be an official one, or?
It can be unofficial.
Okay.
Yep.
Usually the employer will specify if they want it to be official or unofficial.
And if they don't say official, then you can just accept that it's an unofficial that is acceptable.
And if for some reason your undergrad institution does not make obtaining unofficial transcripts easy, because I know that some don't, I would touch base with admissions, because they typically have a copy of your official transcript that you can upload, because they needed it for your application file.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just with I understand like the job opportunities and all the postings will be, are fairly flexible, because there's deadlines that are moving around, but with the clinics, because they're associated with the university, those were fixed, so the ones that we're seeing right now are the ones that are being offered, and that's it now?
Yeah, they're pretty fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have a slide with more deadlines
more,
on it
yeah.
later in the
Yep.
presentation.
Okay, so you'll notice this important date also, pre-select sign up. What a pre-select is, it means that an employer has chosen to interview with you. And so after you've applied, you can see here that December 4th, you'll be able to log into Simplicity, and I'll be able to see right in this area right here if I've been chosen or not for an interview. And then you can go through, it's very easy, you'll just go through this process, or there will be buttons for you to click to sign up for an interview through Simplicity. And then once you've signed up for interviews, you can kind of keep tabs on them through this tab. You want to make sure you have the correct session, and all of your interviews will be kept here. All right. Lastly, events. The events tab are all of the events that our office puts on for the semester. There's a lot of different varieties. Some of them are required like this one, while others are not. I just recommend scrolling through here and clicking on anything that seems of interest to you, reading more about the event, and if you want to go, make sure you RSVP, because most of the time we do provide food for our events, so we want to make sure we have enough for everybody. But if you have any questions, I know I threw a lot of information at you, feel free to get in contact with me or stop by my office, and I'd be happy to help. All right.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your job search, right? I mean, the end goal here is for you to get a career, right? To walk out of here with something more than just the awesome thing that comes with having a JD. So I think first and foremost is really think broadly about your goals, so you can really begin to clarify your focus. I think sometimes we can walk into law school kind of with a pre-assumed thing that we think we want to do. And I would challenge you to really think through that, right? I think you'll learn as you take additional courses through law school that you start to like other things, so don't pigeonhole yourself, right, number one. But the other thing is listen to that internal dialogue as you start to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and kind of have that conversation with yourself of what is it that I really want to do? What are my goals? What do I want those outcomes to be? And go with it, right? And then try to adjust your focus as you come in. So don't assume that you know what you want to do. I walked into law school and said I'm going to be a corporate contracts attorney that works in Manhattan. That went well. And then I went to contracts for like a hot 5 minutes and read the UCC, and I was like, no, never again will I want to do contracts, okay? But go ahead and have those internal dialogues with yourselves, and then really try to understand what it is that you think you want to do, and then explore them, right? But don't just pigeonhole yourself into assuming that you know what you want to do. The other thing is as you start to think about what some of those opportunities that you want to explore are, make sure that you're on top of understanding what they are and what they require of you, right? So, Megan, number 2, we'll talk a little bit about some of those opportunities that we have upcoming for your 1L summer, and my biggest piece of advice to you during your 1L summer is do something, okay? Like 1L summer is not the summer to just hang out, even though your brain wants to. Don't do that, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about those, but make sure that as you're considering some of those opportunities, you really pay attention, because as Melinda stated in her simplicity presentation, a lot of those have really fixed deadlines that if you miss, you're going to want to just, pay attention. Because otherwise you'll be really upset, and you'll come in and you'll cry and you'll want us to fix it, and we can't, because that doesn't happen. All right, so when you think about kind of how do you want to clarify that focus and where do you want to be, think about kind of yourself, right? Figure out and know yourself. What are you really good at? What are you not really good at? What are things that you really enjoy doing? What are things that you really don't enjoy doing? I'll use myself as an example. I learned that I don't like research and writing, which is like what you do as a lawyer, right? Which is why I'm not a lawyer anymore. I mean, I am, but I don't practice in a typical sense, right? Because I knew right away that for me writing a brief, there was nothing more painstaking as an assistant district attorney than a judge being like, Ms. Healis, I need a supplemental brief on that. And I'm like, ooh, can I just talk to you about it? Can I just tell? I'll do all the research, but I don't want to write it down. I want to talk about it, right? Figure out what you're really good at, what you're really not great at. So maybe for me it was talking, because advocating is really something that I was really passionate about. So figure out what you're good at and what you don't like. And actually take some time to do that, because I think when we're in law school, our brains are just, it's like a brain suck, right? Like, everything in your being is so focused on school. So don't be afraid to take a second and say, time out, what am I really enjoying about this and what am I not? Because I will tell you in the long run, it will save you a lot of time and money if you try to figure that out. And then come in and see us, because we'll talk you through it. The other thing is think about what we call the VIPs. So what are your values, interests, personality, and skills? What are the things that are really important to you? What are the things that motivate you in here, right? So I feel like sometimes when we're in college and we're in high school, we take those, I won't say that. We take those career assessments, right, that tell you what we're supposed to be. And they ask you, like, do you work well in an office setting? I don't know, I've never worked in an office before. Like, sure, I don't, right? But they ask you kind of questions that would lead you to believe one thing or the other, right? But think about what internally motivates you. Because you'll find that as you come into that longer profession, that really is what drives home and what continues to make you really good and passionate at the work you do, whatever that might be. So what values do you have? Where does your personality fit, right? Like I was a little crazy in the courtroom, but it worked, right? It worked really well when I had to litigate. So what is your personality and where is it going to fit? Some places you're going to fit in really well, some places you're not. We had a great Pizza with Professionals on in-house, and how that's a completely different personality and mindset than you would be if you were in a large firm. So try to figure out and explore through some of the resources that we provide you, what that looks like and where you fit in. And then, what makes you feel fulfilled, okay? And don't say that money doesn't make you fulfilled, because for some people, it's important, right? I will be the first to tell you that as an assistant district attorney, you don't make a lot of money, but I felt really fulfilled. And when I stopped feeling fulfilled, I left. So figure out what those are for you. Let's talk a little bit more about that. When you think about kind of where you want to be and where you see yourself, think about a little bit about geography, right? Where do you want to be located? Now, the one thing I will tell you is don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking, I only want to work in Madison and Milwaukee or Chicago. It's possible, right? And we can make those things happen. But think creatively about how you can do that. And think and ask yourself the other question. Do I want to live there or do I want to work there? You can live in Milwaukee and work in Waukesha. And your opportunity for hire might be higher in Waukesha than Milwaukee. So be creative when you think about those things, okay? Do you want to be close to your family? My mother lives 10 minutes from me. It's the best thing in the world. Like, oh, the delivery man's there. Hey, Ma, can you run over to the house? I mean, so think about, are those things important to you? Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live in a suburb? But don't say, oh, well, I only want to work in Milwaukee. Because ask yourself, do I want to work there or live there? Because keep in mind, it doesn't have to be both. Do you have any geographic connections? These are one things that I'll really challenge you to think about, because those geographic connections can really drive home why someone should hire you, okay? Firms know when they interview you, and this is true of both public interest firms and large firms and medium-sized firms, that when you hit that 3 to 5 year mark, doors open. Like if you have practiced law between 3 and 5 years, you have 8 million opportunities. Don't quote me on that number. But you have a lot, right? So you need to drive home what's going to keep you where you are if it's somewhere that you want to stay. And it will be one of the first things they ask you is, why do you want to be here? Particularly if you're going to leave the region or you're going to a region you've never been before. Be prepared to answer that question and start building those connections so you can say, I know so-and-so, or you can reach out to so-and-so and they can hook you up with a good gig. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to talk a little bit about is lifestyle. So I think it's really important that as you start trying to discover what you like, you think about how does that kind of interface with my lifestyle, right? So for example, if you work at a really large firm, you're going to have to bill, and they're going to have a billable hour requirement. And I heard a 3L just say the other day that she was like, it was the worst. I had a huge billable hour, I had no life, and I didn't love it. Now, for some people, I have a friend who sleeps in his office probably twice a week, and he loves it. He loves it. He loves everything about it, and he loves what the trajectory that places him on means for his future. So think about what some of those things mean to you. Think about burnout rate, right? I did 40% child abuse, child sexual assault on a daily, right? So I've seen things that no one should ever see, but those things will cause you to burn out. So you have to do one of two things, right? Figure out if you can handle that. Figure out how you decrease the burnout, and then figure out how you deal with that, right? Kind of like in law school, when all of a sudden you're like, this is the hardest my brain has ever worked, and I'm exhausted, and all I want to do is watch Netflix and not read this book, right? But you have to figure out how you manage those things and how you make those things work for yourself. So also try to work on those skills here, because I will tell you that it is a little bit easier to work on them here than when you get employed. And then think a little bit about your work-life balance, right? Do you want to drive an hour to work? Do you not want to drive an hour to work? Do you have family at home that you need to take care of? Do you have children? Do you have a significant other? How often do you want to see them? When do you want to see them? How do you make that work? Do they work an alternative shift to you? Really think about kind of how your career will have an effect on those things as well. So that was a lot. So now that you're like, oh great, I get to think about my life too. I'm going to turn it over to Megan. She's going to give you some more things to think about.
Okay, I was a litigator, but I wasn't in the courtroom as much as Lindsay. I actually like this pedestal between us, so I'm going to stand behind this. I am talking to you first about the second step after you've gotten to explore a little bit more of what your interests are and what seems to be piquing your interest in law school. Your next step is then, what are you going to search and apply for that meets those interests? And one big question, I've already had some meetings this morning with some of you. One of the questions I got was, where do 1Ls actually work for their first summer? I'm not going to read you this list, you can take a look at it, and we are going to talk about all of these in more detail based off of who in our office has the expertise, if you will, in it. But I will point out a couple of things. One being the State Bar Diversity Clerkship. We'll have an informational session on October 31st. The State Bar of Wisconsin runs this diversity clerkship program. It is open to 1Ls only, and it is a paid 10-week, usually 10-week internship at anywhere from a corporation, government entity, a law firm. We have various sizes that participate, and diversity is defined as many different things. It could be disability, it could be race and ethnicity, it could be economic, it could be sexual orientation. So if you're interested in that, October 31st, that's easy to remember, Halloween, over the lunch hour there will be an informational session on that. And then the other thing I will note is once this presentation is live for you to be able to click on it, the bottom bullet talks about there being a complete list of specific places where students have worked. My understanding is that list is not just one ELS, but it's all students. So we've had students at the Colorado State Public Defender's Office, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, we've had U.S. Department of Justice. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of see the breadth of places that your fellow students have worked at in the past. So I would recommend checking that out as well. Oh, I didn't know I was gonna do this. So I'm just gonna make all of them show up at once. Okay. So one of the things when you're doing this search and apply is you need to take into consideration some financial logistics. The reality, however, is that oftentimes 1L positions are more likely unpaid than paid. So think about how that plays into things for you, financially for the summer. But also keep in mind that we do have funding available for public interest positions, and Megan Henneke is kind of our public interest guru, and she will have a presentation next semester that will go into more detail about some different funding opportunities that are available for you to help you get through those summer months and get that great experience at the same time. The next thing I'm going to go into are large law firms and small law firms. Some of you were at our law firm primer presentation that was last week. As we're talking about these different niches that all of us have in our office, I tend to cover bar exams, large law firms, small law firms, and rural practice, and then our diversity. So if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, come and talk to me. A little bit about large law firms. I'm going to skip down to the bottom bullet. There are very few positions for 1Ls in large law firms, so please do not count on that being your summer employment this first year, okay? That being said, there are some people that will get opportunities in large law firms. However, please do not count on that being your option. They will start accepting applications around December 1st. December 1st is when employers, at least that participate through NELP, are able to actually offer you jobs. These large law firms are going to make a lot of their hiring decisions based off of your grades. So even if you can apply in that December 1st through 15th time frame, you likely haven't gotten your grades yet, and they will ask you to supplement with your grades and class rank. So be prepared for that. And a lot of times these large law firms take the top 20 to 25% of the class. The other thing to look for with these large law firms, a lot of them do offer diversity summer opportunities, so do some research and digging and see if you can find out if a particular firm you're interested in offers anything of that nature as well. Does anyone have any questions about that? Small and medium-sized firms then. These types of firms really hire law clerks on a rolling basis. They don't always post positions. These people are very busy practicing law. Unlike large law firms, they don't typically have someone who is simply dedicated to their recruitment and hiring. So all of a sudden, their business ramps up a lot and they realize that they could actually use assistance. So they might post something or they might ask around by word of mouth and find a clerk to hire. The more likely way that that's going to happen is you have proactively made contact and networked with these people, and they remember you and they say, I need a law clerk and I would like to hire this person because I remember they reached out to me and they were interested in what I do and they seemed eager. So one of the things you'll hear us talk about today, and probably every day you ever see us after this, is that you need to network while you are in law school. And if you want to work at a smaller or medium-sized firm, that is the best way you can do that. And we have many, many resources and tools which we can help you to narrow down geographically or practice area, all sorts of things of that nature. But just know that a lot of times these job opportunities are very organic and they're not necessarily posted in Simplicity or other places, so it really takes you being proactive to make those connections. One thing that I've already talked with 1Ls this morning about is that it's important for you to kind of make those first connections. If you find someone you want to connect with and you just don't know how to word that and what that communication should look like, type something up and send it to your advisor. We are more than happy to edit and help you think through what you want that first communication, that first ask to be. before you just blindly send something and realize you had a typo in it, or it wasn't exactly the right type of ask. So we help people with that every single day, so please utilize us for that type of work. And the other thing I'll say is that a lot of times medium and small firms aren't hiring really far in advance, so look for like early spring offers, and any applications happening January through April. Any questions about that? Okay, and in that case, I'm gonna hand it over to Lindsay so that we can go into more detail about some of these job opportunities.
Okay, so I'm just gonna touch really quickly on judicial internships. So just as a note, this is not a judicial clerkship. Judicial clerkships are paid opportunities that typically happen, well, always happen after you graduate. So judicial internships are an opportunity for you to work with a judge, but in an intern capacity, meaning not paid. And there are multiple opportunities for you to do this. If you're looking at the more competitive, which particularly is the federal level, those applications become available December 1st. If you're interested, I can talk you through that. And then I will also note that UW itself has a judicial extern program that myself and Professor Sarah Hadjimarcos work together on. And the information sessions for that typically happen the semester before you're interested in applying. So those would happen for you guys next fall. And with that, I'm going to leave it really simple, but if you think you're interested in working for a judge over the summer, just stop in and see me.
Okay, so what else do 1Ls do during their first summer? A lot of 1Ls do public interest jobs. This is a general rule of thumb for everything, for law firms, for public interest, for government orgs. The bigger the organization, the more likely it is to hire close to December 1st. So if you want to work at a huge national nonprofit like ACLU in New York City, you're going to want to try to apply closer to, as close to December 1st as possible. There is also a Midwest Public Interest Career Conference that's held at Northwestern in Chicago. Last year that conference was on February 4th. We should be receiving the information about how to register for that any day. So that's one of those, keep reading your emails and you won't miss it. We also put on a public interest interview program. This year it will be 2018, it'll be February 10th and 17th. One Saturday is at Marquette, one Saturday is here, and many 1Ls and 2Ls get their summer employment through that fair. It features government orgs and public interest organizations in both Madison and Milwaukee, and in some other places in the state too. Some of those opportunities are paid, some of them are unpaid. We are having a public interest and government expo on October 24th in the atrium. If you are at all thinking about working in a government or public interest capacity this summer, I highly encourage you to attend this expo. Every year I get people who say, but I didn't know what to do. I saw all these tables, I didn't know what to say. I would really encourage you not to overthink this. Just walk up to the different tables in this table talk setting and say, what do you do? And that generally starts a conversation. Or, do you hire interns? Do interns work for you in the summer? This is your chance to ask all of those questions in a setting that is not an interview. We've already talked about this, but just a reminder, if you are working in unpaid capacity, you are eligible for all types of funding opportunities, and we will give you all kinds of information about that in the spring. I also encourage you to bookmark psjd.org. That is a wonderful tool for searching for public interest summer opportunities and public interest postgraduate opportunities. Okay, there are some internships in the federal government in the summer after your 1L year. The best resource for looking at that is this Arizona handbook. This is the link right here. It'll ask you for a password, Badger Careers. A lot of you signed up for the public interest and government listserv when you filled out your Qualtrics survey. Does this look familiar, people? I will always put this website and this password in that email because it's just really that helpful. If you're thinking about working in the federal government the summer after your 1L year, I highly encourage you to check out the Washington, D.C. winter break trip. There will be more information about how to sign up for that on Simplicity. That is a 2-day trip in D.C. where you simply walk from organization to organization and meet with attorneys there. The trip itself, going from place to place, is free. You take care of your own transportation to get out to D.C. We can help you arrange room shares with other students who are doing it as well. There are state and local government opportunities. If you are thinking about going to another state for this, talk to your advisor about how to set up a job search action plan to target government organizations in other states. In Wisconsin, they're likely going to recruit through that Wisconsin Public Interest Program that I already mentioned. Any questions about government and public interest organization employment for your first summer? Yes.
Say you were interested in doing like a clinic that's offered by the university, but if you were to like not be able to get that clinic, you would want to do like an internship with like the government or something. How does that work? Do you just apply for everything that you want to do?
That's a great question. So we're gonna go into more detail about clinic deadlines later in this. A lot of the opportunities that are available to you, you won't hear whether or not you got before other deadlines are. So this is a great time for you to learn about your postgraduate job search, that the rule of thumb is to apply to everything. You can always narrow down, hopefully, multiple offers, but you can't apply after a deadline. So if there is something that looks interesting to you at all, apply. A lot of people come to law school and whenever they've job searched in their life before law school, they've applied to 5 jobs and gotten one of them. I'm here to change your expectations about that. I mean, some people apply for 100 jobs for their second summer or for postgraduate jobs. So over apply. Thank you for that question. Anything else? All right, we're gonna keep moving here. There we go.
It is. Okay, so just really briefly on corporations, for those of you who are thinking about maybe going in-house or working directly for a corporation in some sort of legal capacity, I will tell you there are very limited opportunities your first year summer, but that doesn't mean that they're unavailable. I would say that you definitely should have a relationship to that industry, so have something that industry might specialize in. So if you looked, for example, at maybe Epic, you might have a medical background, you might have some IP experience, but make sure you have something that connects you to them. We've listed a couple resources and a couple other places that you could look at. I would encourage, if you have some of those project management skills, to look into kind of a new field that's called legal operations or legal ops. Some places call them innovation. But if you've had some project management experience in your background, it might be an awesome opportunity for you to just look into. I'm done.
Clinics. So if you have any interest at all in clinics, I would do one of 2 things. Make sure you bring it up in your intake appointment with your advisor and attend the clinic fair on October 30th. They'll set up tables, you can meet the clinical directors, figure out what they do, if you'd be a right fit. Those would be 2 things I would do if you're interested in clinics. We kind of went through some of these, the OCI process for clinics together, but I will highlight that you will not be able to apply on Simplicity for clinics until October 31st. And you'll want to make sure that you get your applications to OCPD, whether that be through email or an appointment with your advisor, to get your materials reviewed by November 17th. And then, as Megan mentioned, March 9th is the deadline you have to commit to your clinic. So as Megan said, apply to everything. Apply to Spring OCI, the public interest interview program, all the things, because you have until March 9th to make your final decision with the clinics.
And with those clinics, we mentioned the March 9th date, which is actually something that we coordinated between the clinics. It took us a couple of years to do this, but now the clinics all expect you to be able to commit by that early March time. We also tell all our on-campus interview organizations that is the date. All of our public interest interview program participants, the state diversity clerkship program, we've got them all aligned now. So by very early March, you'll know all the opportunities that you have to choose from, and then you can make that decision. There may be ones that come after some of the OCI. There are some corporations that come in for 1L OCI because they don't hire people from straight out of law school, so they don't want to do it during the second year. So that's another place for that, for those kind of opportunities. The application material you're going to see, on most of them, they're going to ask for a resume, for a cover letter. We'll go over those documents again in your legal research and writing class, so look forward to that. A transcript, as we said, it's almost always unofficial unless they specifically say official, but generally that's for postgraduate positions that they're looking for something that's official. And again, if you sign your transcript release form, come January, early February, when it's time, when those are all ready, they'll automatically be uploaded into your Simplicity account. A writing sample, you may be working on a brief or memo during your legal research and writing class. Generally, for somebody who's in their first year of law school, that's generally the best piece. You want to have it so that it is yours, that somebody could have reviewed it and given you feedback on it, but not something that someone else has edited. So you want to be able to do your own editing. And as you go through, you can continue to edit these and make them better and better. List of references, if somebody asks for a list of references, this is not a letter of recommendation. And people are very confused with that sometimes. They'll start asking folks for faculty members for letters of recommendation. Different thing. List of references is simply that. A list of generally 3 people who can be references for you that they can contact. So their name, their title, their organization, email, and phone number, so that if they want to follow up with somebody and talk to them before they hire you, they have somebody that they can talk to. So that's what list of references is. It's not letter of recommendation. Very rarely will you ever have letters of recommendation that'll be required this early. Hiring criteria, yes?
So for the writing samples, do they usually ask us or like give us a specific topic to write about, or it's just?
For a writing sample, generally they're gonna say, you know, send us a writing sample, and they'll usually give you some guidance as far as the length.
Okay.
But generally, they just wanna be able to see that you have good legal research, good legal writing and analysis skills. That's what they're looking for in that, and research skills. So if you've got a brief from legal research and writing that you've done, that's usually sufficient. Somebody already mentioned the hiring criteria, academics, because very few of you come in with a lot of very, very directly relevant experience. And so they're looking for, some of the organizations will look for academics, especially that very competitive federal government, maybe the government or the Department of Justice honors program, or the larger firms are going to be looking for grade. That's the one criteria that they can very easily judge someone. Some cases it's going to be experience, as somebody mentioned, in-house. That may be the experience that you had. But also look at the transferable skills that you have that are going to be important to an employer. Don't just simply rely on those, because that, you know, that's going to be a small subset of the organizations that what they're going to be looking for. You know, as we talked about before in the writing, your ability to research issues, draft and communicate well in writing and verbally, and then able to learn through observing, through observations. Where to look for these? Simplicity. As Melinda already said, there are a lot of postings that will come up in Simplicity, but there are a lot of other organizations. Megan mentioned PSJD and the Government Honors and Internship Handbook. Look at these when you're talking to your counselor. Talk to them about that. What are some of the resources that you can use? Okay, parts of networking.
Remember when I said I was going to talk to you about networking more than once? Here we are. I'll be very brief and just say really that networking does not just mean attending events, shaking hands, being a politician. There are so many different ways to go about it. It really is about the people you know. Michael mentioned references. No one wants your mom and dad to be the one that they call for your job. It really does come down to having those people that you've met who can really vouch for you. So it's important to start that now, because they usually ask for about 3 references. So it's important that you have those. And then this is just an example to show you that 1 in 200 resumes will yield a job offer or an interview, and 1 in 12 informal interviews will do the same. Asking someone to coffee, following up with them after you've met them at a Pizza with Professionals event. Those types of things are much, much more likely to get your foot in the door, because they already know you, versus the stack of people they don't know, versus the one where they can vouch for you, okay? And the most important thing I'll say is that OCPD does a lot of work to give you networking opportunities right here in your own walls of the law school. So check our newsletter to see when those are happening. These are some up-and-coming ones that we have, or some examples of things that we have. But the newsletter always outlines what's coming, and Simplicity always outlines what's coming, so you can look as far in advance as you'd like to RSVP for the semester to those types of events. And the last thing I have to say is, if you are thinking about taking the bar exam, which would mean you're going to another state, not here, don't think about taking the bar exam here, it is never too early to start thinking about what you need to do for that, including some states need you to register as a 1L to get discounts. It's very expensive to take the bar exam. So look in your own particular state and see if they require you to register. If you can still register late if you miss it, but they just charge you a lot more money for it. If you have specific questions about that, please come talk to me. I have all sorts of resources, and I'm happy to walk through it with you.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap up. We're really looking forward to meeting you. 3 steps to having a successful meeting with your counselor, which I hope all of you have signed up for. We have like 3 minutes for questions, so does anyone have any questions about the entire presentation? Okay, I know that was a lot, but like I said, we're here to help you. I hope you took notes and you can ask your advisor more questions. Please make sure, raise your hand if you have the sign-in sheet. Yeah, make sure that you signed in, because if you don't sign in, you're gonna get an email saying that you didn't come to this.
And then also make sure that you register for a time to meet with your OCPD advisor. You all got one bad email from me and then one good email from all of us.
And this will be up after Wednesday's presentation. This presentation itself will be up by